Hey, Corey.
Hey, Lisa.
I found a new podcast. Well, I met through social media some interesting women with a new podcast that I've checked out. And I sent it to you and you checked it out, and it's pretty cool.
Yes.
It's called Neurotic Nourishment, and the ladies put together a promo. And so we're going to play it for our listeners now. And we think that if you enjoy listening to Her Turn to Talk, you might be interested in checking out their podcast too.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Weisner from the Neurotic Nourishment Podcast. I'm a psychologist, an author.
Mom, where's my math book?
It's in the kitchen. Neurotic Nourishment is a podcast for smart, sweary women.
Mom, we're gonna be late. We don't have to be there for another 40 minutes. But I don't want to be late.
Neurotic Nourishment is a podcast where smart, sweary women can talk about real issues that matter. The truth is...
Mom, she punched me. He said I poured too much milk. She did pour too much milk. Mom, where do babies come from? Sex.
Neurotic Nourishment is a podcast where smart, sweary women talk about shit that matters. The truth is, no matter what we accomplish in our professional lives, for better or worse, we are always moms first.
Mom.
Hey, this is Corey Barnes.
And this is Lisa Caperton, and you're listening to Her Turn to Talk. Good morning.
Good morning, Lisa. How are you today?
I'm good. Did you gobble till you wobble on Thanksgiving?
I did pretty good. No, I was practicing mindfulness.
Oh.
And I would ask myself, do I feel full now? And then I would say, yes, I do. And then I would stop.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. I didn't do that. No, I didn't do too bad. I wasn't like super duper miserable, but I was pretty damn full. Mostly because I had to eat sticky toffee pudding afterwards because I had to eat it because it's the best thing in the world.
I heard.
It's so good. I was thinking about this on my way, and I don't know why I can't stop thinking about this, but when we talked about the mice situation, and I'm very sad for all these mice that are getting killed.
I know, me too.
And I feel like we should make a product and we can make money. And I think your idea is right. We capture them in pizza boxes. And then they get pizza, then we capture them, and then they're alive,
That's
and then
what I
we
did.
set them free. We could do that for all, but you could
they
use
got Lucky Pie
You could
pizza.
use personal size pan pizzas, and then you just strategically place them all over the house, and you wait for the mouse to go in, close the lid. You could set it up as a trap, and then they can just eat their pizza until you find them and set them free.
Brilliant.
Outside.
Brilliant.
Saving lives.
We should go on that Shark Tank show.
Right.
I'm ready.
Our pizza box mice.
I'm ready. And my song, the jingle will be, little mouse, get out of my fucking house.
But I don't know, how much steak should we give them? Like, how much should we ask for how much steak? They would laugh our asses out of there, I'm sure.
Oh, we'd make a killing. $20 a pop. It's humane. You can keep it as a pet.
Right. You could. I've seen some people
Gross.
have found pet rats that have people, I guess, have set free, and then other people have found them. They actually look really cute. You're making a gross face. But
Guinea
I think
pigs?
they're supposed to be. We saw two guinea pigs at our Thanksgiving. The people's house we went to, they have two.
I cared for two.
They're really cute. I just don't
Checkers
like
and s'mores.
how much they pee and poop. That's the only problem. I feel like if you could just put them in a diaper, then it would be good. But I
Yeah.
don't think you can.
Or
do
if they
that.
like
I
had
don't
a
know.
designated little litter box instead of the
Yeah.
whole entire cage.
Well, and I think they just get so nervous. Like, I don't know
Yeah,
if they
they
can
poop
help
and they
it.
get nervous.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, when you're holding them, so you have
Well,
to put a
they're like
towel under
bunnies
them.
and-
But they make the cutest noises. I like it. I have a super badass woman,
Who is your badass?
and I'm going to try to do my best because I actually had this all planned out like 2 weeks ago, and then we had a reschedule, and so I'm not super fresh on this. I should have did my homework and re-looked at it, but I didn't because I was busy stuffing my face.
No one would ever know.
So here we go. Have you heard of Nancy Wake?
Nope.
Travis, have you heard of Nancy Wake? Give me a yes or no. Okay. I'm super excited. I was thinking Travis might know because he's super smart. And so she.
What about me?
You're smart too.
Get out.
So Nancy Wake.
Educate me.
She was one of the most decorated women of World War II.
Oh.
So she was someone who was an ally who helped to get help get Jewish people out of France during the invasion of the Nazis. And the Gestapo she was like one of the top people on her list that they wanted to get, but they had a name for her called the White Mouse because she was always escaped them. And even at one point she got captured and managed to escape. And she ended up getting out. But what her story is she's actually a New Zealander who was raised in Australia. And then she ended up moving to London and she studied journalism. And then she went to Vienna on an assignment and the Nazis had taken over. And that's when she saw the Nazis' horrific treatment of Jews. It was the first time she actually witnessed it in person in Vienna. And right there, she decided that she hated them. And she told herself if she could ever do anything about it, that she would. And she did. So then Nazis go on to invade France. And that's when she started helping to get people out. And at one point, when she got captured, she ended up being interrogated for 4 days, but she escaped and ended up going through Spain and getting back to England. And when she got back to England, they recruited her to be part of the British Special Operations Executive. And what they did there is they trained her. They trained her in hand-to-hand combat, how to disarm people. They trained her to be a resistance fighter, right? And how to bomb things and all kinds of crazy stuff. And then they ended up sending her back to France. And she was actually stationed in a forest where she was one woman among 7,000 men in this forest with resistance fighters. And she earned their respect. And even at one point, she ordered the death of a female spy who was the enemy. And she earned respect because none of the men would do it. But she was another female and she was like, no, and she was even quoted as saying she would have done the same thing to me if roles would have been reversed and it had to be done. And so after France was liberated, then she learned also at that time that her husband had been killed by the Germans because they wanted to know where she was and her husband wouldn't tell them. So she did a lot. And after the war, she actually served in the British Foreign Office as an intelligence officer. And then she lived intermittently in Australia, and then she ended up retiring in England in 2001. And in 2004, she was named a champion of the Order of Australia. Isn't that awesome?
Yeah.
I mean, she's a badass. And there's some interviews you can see on YouTube. And one, they talked about how and I don't know, but they talked about how she killed somebody with the apple slice, like you were talking about, the Adam's apple slice.
Yeah.
Like she was she could kill men with her bare hands.
Wow.
But she had that spark. She saw what the Nazis were doing, and she wanted to fight against it, and she did. And so
Joan of Arc.
Yeah, and she's escaping people, but she actually did go on.
I'm curious how she escaped from these places.
I don't know, but she we can know what we can do, and I want to do is read her autobiography that she wrote, and it's called The White Mouse, and you can find it on Amazon. We'll include the link on our website. But I definitely want to go and read it.
She'd be handy in one of those escape rooms.
Yeah, yes, she would. And in her interviews, she sounds like
I think I'm so funny.
You don't want to mess with her. She's a tough broad in her interviews. And at one point when she went back to England, she was actually staying at a hotel there, and she would come down and have her gin, and people would move out. She had her seat. She was, people were totally respected. They're like, okay, you do what you need to do. We're going to just listen to you.
Wow. It's amazing that she survived all that.
I know.
Is she still alive?
No, she did end up passing away. She died in 2011 at the age of 98.
I was going to say.
Yeah. And she passed away in England at Kensington Hospital.
Wow.
Yeah. So I
Wow,
thought,
what a life.
yeah. I mean, can you imagine the stories? I mean, I can't.
What a life.
I mean, and can you imagine like being her husband? You're like, yes, dear, whatever you say, dear.
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
doing whatever
Her
you
poor
want.
husband killed, though.
Well, I think she ended up getting remarried again after
Yeah.
that.
That's heartbreaking, though. Jeez
I know,
Louise.
I
Because
know.
he
wouldn't.
a secret.
Yeah. Well, and that's I can't imagine being in that time, but and just but I guess what do? You fight or.
Yeah.
I
Or
mean,
she
you
was going to
fight.
die.
Yeah, I mean that's just what you do, and
Just
I
him or
can't
her.
imagine seeing something so horrific
Yeah.
that you're required to do things you wouldn't normally do.
Is there women out there like that today? Where are they?
Oh,
Hiding?
I'm sure they're out there. I'm sure they're out there.
Underground stuff, probably.
I'm sure.
Or spies.
I'm sure. There's got to
I
be.
guess we don't have that kind of war going on either. But, well,
Well, I mean, there's lots of stuff going on, and I'm sure there's.
I'm not gonna
there's
get
women
into any of
undercover
that.
in war, undercover in police, detectives, all kinds of work. They're
The
they're
Adam's
everywhere
apple
out there,
chop.
and I think that's amazing. And to do this in that time where women were not expected, to be one woman with 7,000 men in a forest. Can you imagine back then, like what that must have been like, and how she had to hold herself to hang with those men and to earn the respect of those men? I mean, that's pretty damn amazing.
I would have gotten
I think.
myself into trouble.
Oh, Corey. So that's my badass woman. I
Love
think
it.
I'm going to order her.
Where'd you find her?
book.
Where did you, or how did you find her? What were you thinking?
Actually, I've been thinking a lot about World War II lately. My younger son has been reading a lot of books, and he's super into it. And I think I told you, like, we've been talking about maybe going to Berlin in the summer, and so it's just kind of been on my mind.
Yeah.
And I thought there had to have been women doing badass shit back then, and so I Googled, like, let me Google badass women in World War II. A lot of the stuff I found from Wikipedia and also at Britannica.com.
Yeah.
Britannica.com biography Nancy Wake, and watching. Like I said, we can include a couple of links on our website, her turn to talk podcast.com, for her YouTube. There's some documentary style stuff on there and some actual clips of interviews with the actual white mouse. Speaking of mice,
There's a lot of great podcasts in general. History in World War II. Travis, you were just listening to one. What do you recommend our listeners?
Hardcore History.
One more time?
Dan Carlin's Hardcore History.
Dan Carlin's Hardcore History. Travis has been raving about his
I'm gonna have to
podcast.
check
So
that out.
and then he's been telling me about it. We've had nice couch conversations, and he's brought me up to speed about what he's learned. So we highly recommend. We'll drop a link there on our website
right,
too.
I'm going to add it to my list. I've been listening to a new podcast. Speaking of podcast plugging, Family Secrets. Did I tell you about this already?
No.
It's pretty good. It is. Oh my gosh, I forgot her name. Dani Shapiro, I think, is her name. And she is the person who's the host of the show. But basically, it takes people and they do interviews with people finding out and talking about family secrets. Whether, like, there's one, spoiler alerts, one where a man found out, this was way back in like the 50s, that his real dad was not his real dad, and his real dad was actually a priest, a Catholic priest. And so it's like follows his journey and trying to find out information about that, because that was all hush hush. And so it's pretty interesting, and a lot of stuff now. And with her, I think kind of what got her started is finding out some things about her family from doing the DNA test, we've talked about before.
I need to just do it.
You need to do it. My
have
son
a
wants
little
to
extra
do
money
it.
soon.
And I'm like, you have me and your dad's already, but, I don't think he's old enough. I think you have to be a certain age. I tried to ask my parents if they would do it. I offered to pay for it and get it sent to their house. And my dad was like, I don't know. I got to think about it. Like,
I don't think my dad would say yes to it.
My dad won't. And I'm like,
I don't know
Dad,
why, but I really don't think he would.
I don't know. I'm like, Dad, nobody wants to clone you. We're not superior beings in our family. I don't think anybody wants to clone
Maybe I'm wrong.
us.
Because my father has done extensive
Maybe
work on
it's a
ancestry.
generation thing, but I don't know.
I think it's a privacy thing.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think my
get it.
mom would care as much, but then like Danny's mom did it. She had a hard time because hopefully she'll be okay with me saying this, but she was always told growing up that she was part Indian and like had a whole story behind it and took the DNA test. 0% Native American, 0. And
Womp womp.
and so I think that upset her a little bit, you know. And so things like that, I think you have to think about before you do it. Is like, what could come up? Like,
There's some
you know?
questionable things on the Barnes side of my family.
Right.
My cousin, he took one of those, and something's not adding up.
Right. That's what you find out. Some people are finding out like one of their parents is not their real parent.
Yeah,
or maybe
something
they
is
have
not
a
adding
rogue
up.
sibling out there somewhere. I have a rogue sibling. Did I tell you that before?
No.
I didn't find out through a DNA test. I don't
It's
even
just
know.
rogue out there. I imagine this just person in a desert
Well,
running rogue.
When I
I have a
was
rogue sibling in the desert.
I was a teenager, still living with my dad. I don't remember how old I was. Probably 15. I don't know, somewhere in that area. But my dad and one of my stepmoms went on vacation, and then they came back and told us we weren't really on vacation. We were tracked down by this person who said that your dad is his dad, and so they went to visit him. And then they're like, and he's going to come stay with us. So
I
then
guess
he
you have
came
mentioned this.
and stayed
You
with
know
us.
this person, yeah.
Yeah, I met him.
yeah.
And there were no DNA tests at the time. Well, you might have could have gone to the doctor, but it wasn't like you can just order one through the mail. Like
Or
you
Jerry
can now.
Springer. I mean,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah,
who was
no,
the other
yeah.
guy? Montel Williams.
Montel, yes, but he did come and stay with
Wait.
us, and he did look like my dad. But then one day he ended up leaving. Something happened with my stepmom, and then we've just never seen him. I don't know how to get. I don't know.
Never again?
Yeah, I don't know. So it's just out there somewhere. I thought
Who
that
says
maybe that would
you
come
are
up
not
in my
the father? You are not the father.
Mari.
Maury Povich. Yeah.
The
That's
DNA
crazy
tests
stuff. I know.
prove you are the father. Whoa!
Well, and now they have health ones too, and so that one you got to say, I'm okay finding out results because, like Danny found out that he has a gene that he could be a higher risk for Alzheimer's.
Yep.
And so you got to be okay with knowing certain stuff and just,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if anybody knows how accurate that is, but I also think it's so awesome that people are now capturing, serial killers and serial rapists through these things.
Really?
Yes, that's how they start. That's how they caught the Golden State Killer.
I don't know anything about
Oh
it.
my God, Corey!
True crime with
Okay.
Lisa Caperton. Bum,
So
bum, bum.
the Golden State Killer. I mean, years and years. First, it was like the East Area rapist. He was something Ransacker. I can't think of it right now because I'm on the spot. But I mean, decades of this man raping people. And he would do things like break into a house of a couple and he would tie the man up with a gun and then take the woman in the other room and rape. And he would put stacked dishes up on the man's back and say, if I hear these move, I'm going to kill your wife and then I'm going to kill you. And so the man would have to be in the other room and hear his wife being raped by this man. And then eventually he also, was a murderer too.
Horrifying.
But he's also called the Golden State Killer. They called him as an old man. He's disgusting person. But he was found through this DNA, through these family genetics. And it was basically somebody in his family took this test and they were able to match it, thought it was him. They basically had to stalk him to find when he would throw out go through the trash, ended up capturing him and bringing him in.
Where'd you learn about this guy?
Oh my gosh, there's so many different podcasts on him. My Favorite Murder talks about him quite often. There's also another great podcast that I listen to. It's kind of a limited series podcast, but it's called The Man in the Window. And it's all about him, the East Area rapist, Golden State Killer. So it's Vidalia. That's it. It's Vidalia Ransacker. Because first it started out where he was like breaking into people's home. It's escalating, breaking into people's homes, peeping in windows.
He wears
then
a mask.
raping, then murdering. It's like
Awful.
It's terrible. Like from like back in the 70s. This started. So I mean, decades long.
Yuck.
But also my mother-in-law, her friend, one of her best friends, just recently within the last few years her sister's murderer was caught through doing the same kind of
That's
thing. And her sister got murdered.
We're going to try to get her on the show, right?
We are.
Or you're going to
She
go
got
do some
murdered
field
when
work.
she was only 13 years old by this man. And I can't remember, I want to say 70s or 80s. You know, it's been a long time, but he just got caught and
no
convicted.
DNA stuff back then, huh?
Yeah. Well, and
Or not until the
thankfully, you know,
80s.
some of these things are being, you know, are kept, but they just didn't, I mean, they didn't have the same resources we have now. But with these open databases like this, they're able to catch so many, you know, different people. And also, there's just so many backlogs of things. It's so sad. I mean, if you like the number of backlogged just rape kits out there that haven't been tested that are just sitting because of funding, and there are places you can donate to help in the backlog. If you just type in the backlog, I highly recommend. That's another good thing, especially right now, the holiday season, people are, you know, donating. But all of these things, I feel like that was one of the reasons I'm like, take my DNA. If there's a killer in my family somewhere, like, you need to bring them to justice, do it. Like, I don't think there is anyone. I hope not.
Oh, and the founder is Mariska Hargitay.
Yeah. Yep.
Dun dun do do
Yep.
do do do.
Yeah, she does a lot. She really does.
Law and Order.
Yeah, she does a lot.
What's her name? Olivia.
Yeah, she's pretty awesome.
Huh.
But I mean, sorry to go off on a tangent there.
Oh,
I
yeah,
feel like,
lots of
but
links to put on the website.
yeah, you should listen. The Man in the Window is a really good one, and it's not very long, but it's very well done, and it's a good way if you don't know anything about the Golden State Killer to kind of get the whole story from the beginning, because they go back and talk to like his very first like girlfriend, you know, and how it started out and how he was with her, you know, and how he just escalated. And that's what the sad thing is with all these rape people, you know, rapists too, is some of them escalate. And it's like you get these, some of them get not enough time, you know, they get a slap on the hand and then it escalates and then somebody's dead, and it's just not right.
Is it too late to report a rape that would have happened in 1970?
Is it too late to report? I don't know anything about the statute of limitations on rape, but it probably is too, but if
Obviously not me, since 1970 I did not exist.
right.
But just curious if people, I
But
don't know,
feel like
especially
people
with the Me
should
Too
still
movement.
report things, because chances
Well,
are,
back then
like,
everyone was so
people who do
suppressed.
these things, typically, I don't think just do it. It's not a one-off. So chances are you may not be the only one. So if you report it, maybe you open a window for other people, or
Yeah.
maybe they're able to draw links.
Maybe there's
you
something
know,
already open.
There's missing things. Just like, you know, what we watched. Did you watch what is it, Unbelievable on Netflix? That was such a great show.
Remind me what it's about.
It's got Toni Collette in it, and it's about
Oh, yes. And yes, that was good.
yes, and how they could, you know, if, you know, all these different, you know, these people can move around, and so if they can connect the dots,
Ay, ay, ay.
you know, get these people off the
I
street.
like my bubble, my Boulder bubble.
Yeah, things happen in Boulder. We had John Bonet happen in Boulder.
I know, but I wasn't here. I'm safe.
I've driven past that house before.
We walk dogs over there.
It's so sad.
Yeah, that's a crazy
wanna
story.
know. I just want to know what happened.
Yeah.
We'll never know, I don't think. But so, yeah, there's so many crazy things out there. We could go off on a tangent forever about this, but I won't. I don't even know how we got started on this. But we'll go back and talk about how we're going to talk to a badass woman today who we haven't met.
Yeah.
So today on the show, we're going to have Beth come on. Beth Pearcy, if I can say that right.
Beth Pearcy.
Beth Pearcy. And she is an architect living in Boston right now.
Represent.
Oh, yeah. She's not.
She's not. I am.
She's not from there, but she's there now. So
Yep.
you guys still have that in common. And she's also part of the junior league. So we're going to get to talk to her about all of these different things. I'm super excited. We have not met her before. So I'm super excited to get to know her and learn about her and I have nothing about architecture and how that works. So I'm interested
Real
in
great
learning about that
architecture
stuff.
there in Boston.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Beautiful buildings there.
Real cute, cool stuff.
Yeah, so I'm super excited to meet Beth and learn about her.
Welcome, Beth.
Hi, I'm excited to be here.
We're so glad
excited
to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. And I do think we did a faux pas because we record our intros before our guests come. And then after we recorded yours, we had some debate on how to pronounce your last name correctly. So can you tell us how you pronounce your last name?
It's Pearcy.
Oh, we got it wrong.
We were wrong.
We said Pearcy. Okay.
We were wrong.
This
But I
is
answered a Percy too, so
you're like, just call me whatever. Beth Pearcy is here with us today. Hi, Beth.
Did you have a good holiday?
I did. It was so good. It's so nice to be here and be home with my family.
And you're in Boston right now, right?
I am. I live in Boston, so flew here on Wednesday.
How long have you lived in Boston?
Just over 2 years.
Oh, right
So,
on.
Yeah, it's been
And where
great.
in Boston, if you don't mind me asking?
I live in the North End.
Ah,
So yeah, I live in the North End and also work just outside the North End. So some days, especially when it's really cold, I'm like, I don't leave my mile radius for like 2 weeks.
yep.
But I
That's
love
perfect.
it. I
You're
really
right there on
love
the
it.
waterfront.
I am. Yeah, I run on the waterfront and it's great. I love it.
And you go past the aquarium.
I do.
And
I
I'm from
do.
Boston.
Yes, I
And
am.
I love that area. And I know exactly where you live. And I know exactly the subway, the blue line is right there.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. What's it like living in Boston?
It's great. It's so convenient. Everything. I just feel like the world is at my fingertips. And also, you can drive up to Maine for the weekend and it's beautiful and quiet, or you can go to New York City for the weekend. And
Sure.
I just really like living there. So lively.
Yeah.
I really met so many great people there. I love my job. Yeah, I love everything about it.
How long have you been there?
2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
2 years.
And you went there for your job?
I was working in Oklahoma City. I pretty much grew up in Oklahoma City and I loved it there. But I just kind of got to a point where I wanted something different. And my little sister was applying for business school. So I said, wherever you go, I'll go. So she got into business school and I started applying there and, found this job that is great. It's a WBE, so Women Business Enterprise. So it's owned by women. It's something that was really foreign to me, but I love working there with all these amazing women who, really have experienced a lot of the things that I am looking forward to in life, like having kids and also working. And so it was a really good fit for me. And here I am.
And so
in Boston.
it's a women's architecture firm?
So it's just the majority of the owners are women. So there's
Okay.
3 women and 1 man that owns it. And so you can apply to be considered a WBE. And that allows you some flexibility in like government contracts and stuff. So
Awesome. And so you are an architect.
I am an architect.
And so what does that entail? Like, I know nothing about what that means. I mean, I know that you design buildings, correct?
Yes.
But what are you doing specifically?
So, every day is really different, which is so great. And I do a lot of schools. So right now I'm working on a school, and it's awesome. We start at like the very beginning. Someone says, we think we need a new school for these reasons. And we come and we look at their old building and we say, yes, like here are your options. We can renovate, we can do another building. And we help them figure out what they need and just kind of walk them through the process. So it starts at the very beginning, just like, figuring out how many classrooms they need and what classrooms can double up. And it's the same thing for any type of project, helping them decide their program. And then it goes until through construction, 2 years after, a lot of times I'm getting phone calls like, this isn't working quite right. And there's so many little tweaks in a building that you're like, oh, if you just turn this a little bit different, then it'll work better. And so it really runs the gamut. But my day-to-day is usually working with clients, figuring out their needs, and putting that into construction documents. So
Is it all
drawings.
buildings in Boston or New England, or is it all over?
So we do buildings all over. Mostly New England is what my firm does a lot of adaptive reuse. So like taking an old building and making it into something different, which is so much fun, just the life of a building. And most of that is in Boston, but I've also worked in Buffalo, New York, and Western Mass and downtown Boston. Like we work all over. So,
Who is your favorite architect?
Oh, my favorite architect. That is such a good question. This is so cliche, but I.M. Pei is just
That's my favorite.
he's a
I
classic.
even
and you
have him
can't-
up. I brought him up before I was here. Before you came.
Yeah, he's great. And
There he
he
is.
designed the master plan for the University of Oklahoma, which is where I went. And
Really?
So
Awesome.
yeah.
He's done so many things.
Yeah.
I just love to know.
He just
Isn't
recently died,
spectacular? Yes.
So that was really
He
sad.
did NCAR. Isn't that correct? He did NCAR
I'm not
up here in Boulder.
Oh, I'm not familiar with that.
No?
building.
I'm pretty sure that's.
I don't know.
that's who
Don't
did
look
that.
at me.
Anyway,
So,
so cool.
Do you Are you doing
did.
like hand drawing, or is everything done by computer now?
Everything's done by computers. So what we call construction documents, what we use to design a building, that's all on the computer. But we do a lot of like collaborative sketches. So sometimes you get to a point where you're just like, what do we do with this? Like, what happens here? How do people experience this space? And what is it going to look like? And how is it going to feel? And a lot of that is in rooms, just kind of with sketch paper and drawing, and everyone's, well, here, if we put this here and this here. And so a lot of it is hand drawing, but the core of it is on a computer.
Yeah. And so there's so much to think about, right? You've got to
So
do
much.
math and then also
an
think
art.
about how to make it function and look good, right?
Yeah, there's
What's your
so
favorite
much.
part about that? Like, what drew you to architecture?
So I really grew up enjoying art and just being creative. But I also was great at math and science. Like, I always liked my math and science class, and kind of English and history and reading, I could just leave if I had to. So I had this incredible art teacher that really helped me kind of find my way. And she said, like, you're great at this and you're great at this. And here are some things I think you would be good at, besides just, because I was like, I'm going to go to art school. And I think my parents were like, are you though? Is that really what you're going to do? And she was like, well, here are some suggestions of how you could be creative that I think would also. And when I kind of tuned into architecture, she put me in touch with one of my friend's moms, who was an architect, who, I mean, I knew her. She was a friend's mom, but I'd never been like, what do you do? It's weird.
Yeah.
You don't ask your friend's parents what they do. But, she was like, you should talk to Meg's mom. And then I did. And that kind of helped me, encouraged me into architecture. And it's been like, I'm so lucky, because I think so many people go into college and they're not exactly sure what they want to do. And I like slipped into this and immediately knew I loved it. And then I graduated and loved it even more. And the more I get into it, the more I love it. So I'm really, really
I think that's
lucky.
rare. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
it really is.
Yeah.
And now that, I see like my friends who thought they loved it, and they're like, oh, I don't know, I'm going to go to grad school and try this. And I'm like, oh, nope, I'm pretty sure. Like, this is what I want to be doing. So I'm really lucky.
Do you have any aspirations? Do you want to like own your own firm one
I
day?
do. I
Yeah.
absolutely want to be managing principal.
Yeah.
Which is funny, because in school, I think everyone wants to be managing principal, and then they get out and they're like, maybe not so much. And I'm like, no, I want to be in charge of everything.
Yeah.
This is where I want to be.
Well, and I feel like for the little I know about your family, you guys are all really smart.
Well, I think we have different talents for sure. We're definitely smart in the things that we're smart at, but that's really diverse in my family. So
Yeah, it's awesome. Well, and I also love, it seems like you're very close with your sisters.
so close, so close.
I think that's rare too. Like you don't
having
hear about
sisters
all
is like the single greatest thing in my life. Like, it's just
Aw.
like, it's just great, and like seeing them grow, even though like Barrett's only 2 years younger than me. I didn't really see her grow. We kind of grew together, but Gracie is 10 years younger than me. And it's like so great just seeing her like grow into the person she's becoming. She's so funny. She's seriously this funniest human being I've ever met. And so, yeah, I love having sisters.
That's
Do you ever get
amazing.
homesick?
Do I? Oh, yeah, all
Yeah.
the time. But we see each other a lot, considering we're
Nice.
all spread out. I talk to my family so often. My friends are like, you talk to your parents a lot. I'm like, yeah, I do. And then Barrett is in New York City, so that's like an easy train ride.
Yep.
So we get to see each other at least once a month. And I try to make it home a lot. So we get to see each other a lot, and it's really nice.
Cool.
So I'm really lucky.
Yeah. Is that kind of what drew you to looking for, or did you look for a firm that was owned, predominantly owned by women? Was just having this kind of female power in your life already?
So that never even occurred to me, really, to look for a female-owned firm. But I kind of worked a network in Boston. So, I met someone and they said, oh, you should talk to so-and-so, who said, you should talk to so-and-so. There's one woman who said, oh, here are some firms that you would like. And this one is a WBE, and I think that would be a good fit for you. And that, I was like, okay, I can get along with anyone, it's fine. But actually being in that environment where it's so relatable for someone to be like, oh, I have kids and it's important that I make it home every night to see them, or like I've been through that, and they can sit down and talk to you about it. It's really nice. It's like has been something that's really impacted me. And I think I'm so glad that
Well, it sounds like
did
you
that.
have kind of these built-in mentors in your work almost.
I do. I absolutely do. And something that I think I don't do very well, or I didn't do very well, is advocate for myself. Like, say, I want to be a managing principal, and like, am I doing what I need to do? And is this a good spot for me? And they kind of have taught me how to do that. And they'll be like, let's go out to lunch and let's talk about your next steps. And what are you doing outside the firm? And, oh, I can hook you up with someone who can help you do more, learn more. And so that was something that, I hadn't really ever thought that I could just say, like, excuse me, this is what's important to me. And they were like, no, not only can you, you should.
Oh,
And
that's
so,
amazing. Yeah. I think that's a thing that all of us have to be taught. It's not something that is normally
practice,
like
too.
comes in. Yeah.
We're hearing you speak about networking, and that is a gold mine once you tap into it.
Yeah.
When did that confidence of just networking in general start for you? In college or?
So I think I'm pretty social. So to me, I mean, yeah, in college I was networking. I don't think I realized I was networking until after I moved to Boston and people asked me like, how did you find this firm? How did you end up with them? And I would be like, oh, I like talked to so-and-so who introduced me to so-and-so. And they were like, oh, you worked at Network. And I was like, yeah,
So it wasn't even
did.
intentional. That's
Look
great.
at me being trendy and working at Network. So,
Yes.
and now I use it all the time. Like, are you working your network? I
Yes.
just talking to my mom on the
It's
way
such a
here.
gold mine, like I said.
Yeah.
It's important in all aspects of life. If tomorrow I decided I wanted to take a bowling, right? Hey, anybody that likes to bowl, and then it just
Yeah.
starts, right?
And people love connecting other people.
Yeah, they do.
So, like, I love it. I'm like, oh, I can help you. I can help you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people love doing that.
Yeah.
They're like, let me introduce you to so-and-so. And it's such a good way to just make friends.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. And it's because it gets harder and harder to make friends as an adult.
Yeah. But it's a practice because you won't do it for a little while and then you'll be like, oh, I gotta start up again. And there's this something I can see it in you because I got it too. You get excited about it,
Yeah.
right? And then things just happen and you start making connections. So that's really cool. And that's, if we had a map, that's how that got you 2,000 miles away from here in Colorado.
I know. And now I feel like I can go anywhere, right? Like, I'm like, oh, well, it's not that hard. And like, I know people and I feel like people would always be like, oh, I have a friend in Australia that could, talk to you and help you get on your feet and stuff.
Yeah.
So
And you have done a lot of traveling, studying abroad.
yeah. So I studied abroad in college, which was amazing. It really was just so amazing. And something I'd never really been out of the country. I think in high school I went to Peru with like a youth mission trip, but that was so sheltered. It was just different. But studying abroad in college was just like a whole new world. And I was like, I want to go everywhere. Literally everywhere. I want not an inch of this world unwalked by me. It just really opened my eyes to things that I wanted to see. And I think my whole family was like, oh, we want to do this too. Now that you've done it and they visited me. And so after that, we've been traveling a ton.
Where did you go?
So I started off in Rome. It was with OU's study abroad program. So it was a group of students, 6 students and a professor. And we started off in Rome for 4 weeks. And then we did Paris for 4 weeks and London for, I think, 3 weeks. And then we did a lot of traveling on the weekends and stuff. And after that, my mom and my aunt and I went to Scotland and Ireland.
That's amazing.
I know you like to run. Have you done any of these half marathons out of the country yet?
I have not. Although I've heard the Berlin one is amazing.
Yeah.
It's like the best one to do.
My husband's entered into the London Marathon a couple
really?
of
That
years,
one's
but
hard
he
to get
hasn't.
into.
Yeah, he hasn't got in.
Yeah.
But he's submitted to it.
My girlfriend Tony just did Amsterdam.
Yeah,
and
and
that
I
was
think it'd be awesome. Well, and that's the thing, right? I'm too. I hadn't really. Growing up, I never really traveled. But it's like once you step outside of your bubble, and especially the bubble of the US even, you're like, holy shit. Like the world is amazing and the people are amazing.
And there's so
then
much
you just want
to
keep going
learn.
more and more. Yeah.
So where have you ran your half
awesome.
marathons? You've done
So-
4.
I have. Most of them have been in Oklahoma. So when I was in Oklahoma, I used to do the Memorial Half Marathon every year. And I've also run one in Newport, Rhode Island, and I just recently ran
Beautiful
one.
there, huh?
Oh, it is.
I
It was
love
such a
Newport.
beautiful course through like by the water and
Yes.
through all the big houses. And I was like, are we going to run
very
by Taylor
fond
Swift's
memories.
house? We didn't.
Oh, no, bummer.
But then the other one was in Boston.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Is that your kind of self-care is running for
Yeah,
you?
absolutely. Just really, I probably run 2 or 3 times a week. But I go to the gym every day and people say like, oh, you're in such good shape. Why do you obsess over going to the gym? And I'm like, it's mental.
Oh, yeah.
Like I need that time to just totally zone out. Like to be like, this is me. I put in my like headphones and don't talk to anyone. And like sometimes I'll be running and I'll be like, how did I get here? Like I know I had to stop at lights. I know I had to make turns and I don't remember making those decisions. Oh well, like hope I didn't like run any red lights.
Any full marathons in the future?
I don't know. I don't know if a full marathon is something I'll ever do. I love running, but when you even training for a half marathon, it's like a good month and a half of just every Saturday. It's like you wake up, you run, you recover, you're eating really healthy. It's like, I mean, it really is like a full day activity. And I can't imagine making it any longer than than a month of doing that every single week.
Yeah.
But I don't know, maybe. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
I just watched the movie Brittany Runs a Marathon. Have you guys seen
I've
that?
heard that's good.
It's really good. You guys, I highly recommend it to you guys to watch it. But yeah, it's about a girl like kind of wanting to take her life back and decides to run this the New York City Marathon, and just all about that. And it's hard work. I know my husband did one marathon. And then watching him do that, I remember one time during his training, he came home and he was like in the bath with ice, eating a bowl of watermelon. He just looked at me and he said, "People should not do this." But then you have people out there running 200 miles and crazy ass shit.
I
like
cannot
that.
imagine.
Yeah, it's
just
so crazy.
Yeah. Honestly, for me, it's all about the sticker. Like if I ran a marathon, it's just because I really want one of those 26.2 stickers.
Yeah, I want the medal. That's all I want.
It's awesome.
I love this story. We were just talking about you studying abroad, right? And I love this story about your dad and convincing him. Will you tell the
absolutely.
listeners?
Yeah. So I, heard about this class that you could take, and it was over the summer, and I really wanted to do it, but it was, first of all, like I wasn't going to be working. I knew I would have to have some help from my parents, and so I went to his office. I made a PowerPoint and like really pointed out all of the benefits to it.
You made a PowerPoint.
I made a PowerPoint, and I called his secretary and said, "Can you put me on his schedule?" So he knew he had an appointment. He didn't know it was me, but I had been like, "Can I meet you for lunch after?" So he thought he had an appointment, and then we were going to meet for lunch. And then I show up. I'm all dressed up. I like wear like a really nice skirt and a jacket, and I come in and I, set up the PowerPoint, and I was like, "I would like to present to you studying abroad at 2010 or whenever it was."
Spectacular.
I love that.
And I went through the PowerPoint, and at the end, the last slide, it was like the financials. And I was like, "Here's how I've worked it out. Here's how I can pay for this."
Yes.
But I'm going to need you to like lend me the money up front.
Smart
And
woman
he was
right
like-
here.
He was like, "Okay, I think this is great. You put a lot of thought into this.
Yeah.
Let's go to lunch." It was
Well
so,
done.
I mean, it was so easy.
It's kind of hard to
So-
argue. And we do that with our kids sometimes. We'll tell them to do something, they don't want to do it, and we're like, "Well, you know what? You're allowed to rebuttal, but you need to come and convince us. Like, explain your side here."
Yeah.
It's like maybe we'll change our mind. Who knows?
I'm just now reading your responses. I don't know how I skipped over this. Can you please tell us a story about one of your first jobs at a middle school?
Oh. Okay, so
And you look great. I don't know how old you are,
I'm
but
30,
you look younger
so-
than me. So
thank you. So to get licensed, like when you graduate architecture school, you have to have so many hours in different areas of study, and then you have to take these tests. So when I took tests, there was 7 tests you had to take. And it's just like a long process. But the minute you're licensed, or the minute I was licensed, my firm was like, "Here's a project," which was just like a bathroom renovation and like redoing the flooring in a hall at a middle school. But I still thought I was like really hot stuff, being like, "I'm the project architect on this project." And I was going to meetings alone and going to site visits alone. And I just like felt really good about it. So towards the end of the project, I just needed to go like verify one thing. And so I called ahead, and they were like, yeah, that's fine. And I got there, and I just poked my head into the office and waved, and the secretary, waved me on. And I'm in the hallway, and a teacher comes out, and she is so mad that I do not have a visitor's pass. And I was so apologetic. And so we go to the office. She like comes with me, and she's just like stomping down the hallway, and we get into the office, and it wasn't till we like were there that we both realized she thought I was a middle schooler. So here I am thinking I am like a real adult, and she mistook me for like a 12-year-old.
She's taking you to the office.
And she was
Going to
so
the principal.
embarrassed, and I was just like dumbfounded.
flattered, confused.
Exactly. Like, did you really think I was
12
in
though.
middle school? Like high school, I would be like, okay, like some of those high schoolers are tall, and
Sure.
they're really old, but middle school, excuse me, excuse me.
Have you had any other stories like that happen? Anything funny like that?
I mean, I think a lot
or-
of times people think I'm really young, but nothing that was just so blatantly.
Yeah.
Like one time I was working at a project on a medical school, and we were just doing the library, but we needed to figure out, like, there was this weird chase, like this weird part of the building. We were like, what is inside this wall? It's just a big square. And I was like, it's probably ductwork. I don't know. And the owner of the building said, okay, on the 10th floor, they're doing construction and they're going to open it up. So why don't you bring your engineers and we'll all go look. That was the only information he gave me about the 10th floor. Well, we get there, and the 10th floor is the cadaver lab. I'm so squeamish. And so we get there, and it just like smells bad. And there are these two girls like studying a cadaver. And I was like
That's funny.
lightheaded. And I'm with, it's like me and 3 engineers that are all men and like 2 contractors that are just like big, tough men. And so I was like, I will not pass out. I will not pass out.
Oh my gosh.
So we go over, we look in the chase. I take a bunch of pictures. I'm like, great. One of the guys is like, I'm out. I'm out. So they slowly trickle off. I get there. I do it. I left.
Oh my God.
And the client is like, I'm so proud of you. Like, I thought you might struggle with that. And I was like, I'm fine. I left and I was like, I'm scarred for life.
That's
you will not
funny.
know.
So you
That
go
is a good
into
one.
them places like when they're going to demolish them and look, when I'm trying to get around to the question of sometimes people put weird shit in places. And have you found anything weird in a wall or things like that?
I have not found anything weird in a wall. One time I was working on a project and they were digging for the foundation and they found like a bunch of buried cars.
I thought you were going to say a body.
Really? Where was that?
That is weird.
That was in Buffalo, New York. And they were just like, oh, we don't know. Like, there's some situations where you may have to stop work. So we stopped work.
Yeah.
And then it was fine. Like, it was just like, oh, I guess we just get rid of these cars, but then you have to dispose of them the proper way. And like, is there like oil in them? And just things like that.
That's a bizarre thing. Yeah.
And
A
so like,
landfill or something?
I don't know. It wasn't enough to be like a landfill. It was just like someone buried their car and then
Weird.
part of another car. Like it
But
was.
then it's like, did somebody get killed in that car? Is that evidence? That's buried evidence.
I'm
I'm true
always
crime
curious.
obsessed, so that's where my mind goes.
I'm always curious if burial grounds and stuff get churned up and if you see some bones or something, you never know.
Yeah, you never know. So I know in
never know.
Oklahoma that was like a thing. It was like, oh, an Indian burial ground.
Yeah,
you have
yeah.
to stop work. That was something we learned. And
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
like, oh,
So-
okay.
Or maybe you could find a dinosaur bone or something. That'd
Yeah.
be cool.
Yeah, that would
But
be cool.
that wouldn't be very good for your job, though, because that would
Because
probably
they would
that'd
stop
be
work.
really
But it would be
interrupting.
really fun.
Or a
So-
spaceship, a buried spaceship.
That would be cool.
The process of your work of an
Mm-hmm.
architect. Okay, you told us that you work in an office and you're working on a computer. What's the name of the program? Is there a main
Mm-hmm. It's called Revit, the program we use.
Revit.
So
Okay, so and then that's where all the design work happens. People are collaborating together on one project. That's what that
Yes.
looks like.
Yes.
And then once the project is ready to go, or is it during this creating where you're going to the site, coming back, making these edits, going to the site, coming back, and then are you? Does that sound right?
Yeah, so you spend less time at the site, definitely.
Okay.
During the design process, you visit it, you really get to know it. But during construction, after the building,
You're not there.
no, you're there all the time.
Oh, you're there all the time. Okay.
Yeah, you're really there looking at things because there's always surprises. Like no matter how much you think something through, like a wall is not totally plumb or there's something that just doesn't fit together the way it's exactly supposed to. And so and that's actually one of my very favorite parts is like the creative problem solving. Like, okay, we have this piece and this piece and this piece. Like, how can we all work together to get this done? But also like the people on site, they just know so much about what they know, right? Like the guy building the wall he knows everything about building a wall. And it's so interesting to like talk to them and learn from them and like come up with these solutions together. So I really like that part of it.
And when a project's finished, what is that like?
It's like the most rewarding thing.
Yeah.
It really is like so rewarding to see people using the project and
Here's this creation
yeah.
in front of you.
Yeah.
And people are walking in and out of it or whatever's
Yeah,
going
using
on.
it. And so I actually had a really interesting experience on that medical library that I worked on. Afterwards we always take pictures. And so we were taking pictures all day and it had just opened. So we weren't really sure that a lot of people would be in the space. And I was there to kind of like hang out, but also be in the pictures. Cause a lot of, you want people in your pictures.
Yeah.
Well, like we get there at like 7 a.m. There's 2 or 3 people using it. And I was like, oh, this is cool to see people using the space. By noon, it was so crowded and I was like, this is awesome. Like, this is so awesome to sit here and watch people actually use the space and like love it. And that was the first time I'd really seen a space function like just totally, you go to the groundbreaking and stuff, but you don't really see it like on a day-to-day basis. And like, that was great to see the space just work and people enjoy it and people use it the way that I'd planned on them using it. And so that was awesome.
And you have to keep in mind, what is that called? Usability?
Yeah, user friendliness, or
it's not user interface. I'm a web designer, so I think
so you think
intuitive
of user
thoughts
interface.
and stuff like
Well,
that.
it's like very similar,
It's a
right?
psychology kind of.
Yeah.
So,
like,
but you
where the bathroom goes, like people don't want to search for the bathroom,
and that's your job. There isn't someone else who specializes in usability of architecture.
I mean, I'm
like
sure
that.
somewhere there is, but we don't use them.
Yeah.
So we think about that a lot, and that's like kind of what I said earlier is going into a room and being like, okay, how does this function, and like, does this make sense? Like, can we imagine ourselves in this space? And as someone who works on schools a lot, there may be like a 12-year-old in it and a 4-year-old in it,
Right.
and like, do they both feel comfortable?
Huh.
Is the skill right for both of them? And like, how do they use it? And also, how much interaction do they have? Just things like that. But I really like it. I like thinking about those things.
That makes me think, I'm like, oh, next time I use things because we don't. I take for granted all the time. I go into any place and I don't think about the person who made that convenient for me. You know what I mean?
Well, next time you like can't find the bathroom, you can be like, damn the architect.
Well, and that must be real rewarding for you to have these things that are going to be around hopefully for a very long time. Yeah. And then one day, if you ever did decide to have kids or whatever, you could be like, Mommy dreamed this and made this happen. And you could take that. And that's amazing.
It is. And it really is so rewarding. And that's one of the reasons I love schools is because they're like, this is it. We're building the school and we're not building another one. So make it work. Make it last. And I love that about it is just that like, you're not tearing it down. It's going to be here as long as I'm here.
You mentioned the term groundbreaking. Is that like the cutting of the ribbon or something? Or?
So groundbreaking is usually before you start construction, you have the little like, oh, everybody takes a shovel and like moves a piece of dirt. And it's like a ceremony to be like, we're doing this now. And then usually at the end of a project, there's a ribbon cutting.
There is.
So, or like a
That's
dedication.
Fun. That looks cool.
They're so much fun. Those are like really fun to go to when everyone's excited and, they haven't used the building yet. And they're so excited to like do all of these things in a building. And,
and I'm sure there's all these inspectors that have to inspect everything. Do you communicate with those folks?
Yeah, we do. And we turn in a lot of submissions to, get approval for code compliance and stuff like that.
Yeah. Is there just endless code compliances?
It's not so bad. Like now that I'm used to it, it's not. Sometimes there are big surprises, and that's always kind of something that is not pleasant. But there's always a solution, and there's always a good reason, right?
Yeah.
And so it's important.
Yeah. The more I think about it now I'm like going down this rabbit hole. I'm like, okay, so now you need to, while you're coming up with these plans, you have to think of like fire alarm stuff. All the plumbing.
Yeah. So we have consultants. So we have usually like an engineer that works on plumbing and the mechanical systems and the fire alarm systems. And so I have like a basic knowledge of those things, but I rely on their kind of design.
Wow.
And then I
there's
coordinate it.
So many players.
Yeah, it's a big team. But that's awesome. It's so awesome to work with all these people. I don't think I could be in a job where I was like at a desk not talking to anyone. I need to be in a job where it's like really collaborative and lots of people to talk to and like lots of ideas floating around. So,
and I'm curious because you are working with all of these different people, and you're in a big city, and you are a woman, and we kind of talked about how you may look a little younger than you are. Have you ever felt treated differently because of your age or your gender, or do you feel like times have really changed and tables are turned and people are being really respectful no matter what?
No, I definitely think, especially when I started, I think some of it may have been a little bit in my head, but I think there were times where I felt like, excuse me, like I'm here, I'm in charge. And like, I feel like I really had to work to earn respect, especially on job sites. But now I just feel like, I don't know if it's that I'm way more confident and notice it less or if things are changing, but I mean, I definitely think things are changing. And in Boston, I think there's a lot of women, like a lot of women in the workplace. And so you just are used to seeing it. But also I think I'm better at commanding a space than I used
Right.
to. Like, I just feel confident, and I don't notice as much if someone says something that before I may have been so offended by. Now I'm just like, huh, what? Well,
Right.
whatever.
Well, and I wonder
You do
sometimes
you.
if part of that's just also being new, because, everybody treats the new person kind of like, okay, well, let's, show me what you got and see if if I need to give you my respect or not in some state,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think moving to Boston for me, that feeling of being like, I'm the new person, I have to prove myself, and then doing it, I was like, okay, it's okay now.
Right.
Like, no matter where I go, it's going to be okay. I know I've got this. Because I was like, I'm coming from Oklahoma.
That's what I was going to say. That's a big
Like, people are
difference.
like, which one is that? I'm like, it's the one above Texas, but below Kansas.
Do you think is the
Tornado, just think of
mentality
tornadoes.
different? Is it more of a rat race there in Boston than Oklahoma? Is it a tougher scene? What do you think?
It's definitely more intense. Like, people are just intense. And I'm used to being like the most intense person in the room. So
Yeah.
I'm like, well, now I'm the fun one? What?
Yeah.
What is this?
Yeah.
But
And you haven't picked up any of the accent yet.
I do say wicked.
I was gonna say.
that was a word that I didn't know I needed until I moved there. And now I'm like, I need this word in my life. So I do say wicked sometimes.
And what do you think about Dunkin' Donuts?
I like their coffee, actually. I was
gotten bad.
surprised. Really, I
Gotten
still
worse.
like it.
Used to be really good when I grew up, but they're everywhere. So that's
Yeah,
why I was
they are
curious. But
everywhere.
you like it.
Yeah, well, there's
They're
not a lot
convenient.
in the North End. In the North End, it's all like
The little
mom and pop
cafes
shops,
and-
which
yeah.
I love.
Yes, I miss that.
But when I'm at the airport and stuff, and there's just a Dunkin' Donuts,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is not like I thought it would be worse.
Yeah.
But I do like it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, yesterday I was seeing a cat client, and this gentleman came out. I said, "Be careful, it's wicked slippery." And I didn't even notice that I said it. And he came, he dropped his stuff off in the dumpster and came back in. I was trying to get in the door. He says, "You're from the East Coast, aren't you?" I said, "How did you know that?" He says, "The way that you talked." And I couldn't remember. I didn't remember that I said wicked because it just came that way. And I was like, how's this guy know? How does he know? And I was like, is my accent? Is it my accent? And I don't think I have an accent.
yeah,
But it was because I said wicked.
wicked. Yeah,
It's wicked
I know,
awesome.
I love that word. It's so convenient. It's just like, I mean, what other word can replace that? That's not really.
Yeah.
It's like so overused, but
Yes.
wicked is great.
Yes.
So, and that's another thing. People are always like, well, why don't you have an accent? I'm like, I don't know. I just don't. Like,
Because you're not from there.
yeah.
But you might pick it up.
Yeah. Sometimes I like
You
some
might like
words
the
I think
Patriots
I
one day.
say. Doubtful. I do have a limit.
pushing the limit, Corey.
Let's see. But you are a big Sooners fan. Is
I
that
am.
right?
I love OU football. Love it.
Cool.
So.
I'm from Austin, so sorry.
Oh, wow.
But I don't care about football, so I don't care.
But honestly, like, I'm an OU fan. And if we're playing Texas, then I hate Texas. But if we're not playing them, then I am a Texas fan because, like, I want that Texas game to be amazing. Like, I
Right,
want it to be a great
right.
game. I want, like, them to do well. And then I want to beat them and be like, see, they're great, but we're just slightly better. So,
I know. I say the same thing when I'm here with Travis's parents. They have season tickets to the Broncos, and I got all the gear now. But I'm like, I'm still a Patriots all in my blood. Can't help it.
So
But I'll go to a game.
just put that out there. Tell us about the junior league.
oh, okay, the Junior League. I love this organization.
And tell for dummies like me who know nothing about it, explain it.
So it's a women's organization, and it's just like women serving other women. So we really run the gamut of the type of community service we do, but it's all like very female oriented. So a lot of the things are for like children. We do a STEM program for after school. There's like a kids in the kitchen, and they teach the kids to make a meal every week. But then there's also like the little black dress initiative where it's like you bring your old professional clothes to a location and people like fold them, and it's like a shop for women who can't afford like a suit or for their job interview. So we do a lot of these women's service initiatives, but then also it's very social, right? So I've met a ton of people through it.
And did you join it when you moved to Boston
So
as a
I
way to
joined
socialize?
in Oklahoma City.
Okay.
And I did a year there, and then I transferred to Boston. And so I was literally moving to Boston. Like, I'm on the plane because I'd called and said I wanted to transfer, and like I got an email and they got back and forth. But I wake up the morning I'm going to Boston with an email that says the first event is tonight. And if you want to go and you call, we'll go ahead and process your request so that you can go to that first event. But if you want to wait, that's fine too. Like, just missing the first event isn't a big deal. But I was like, I'm going to that event. So I'm like on the airplane yelling my credit card number to this lady at the junior league because I want to make sure I get to this event. And I get off the plane, I dump my stuff, and I go to the event. And it was crazy, right? I like woke up at 4 a.m. to move, and I'm getting introduced to all these girls. And they're like, yeah, I just moved here from New York. Yeah, I just moved here from Maine. And I'm like, oh, I just moved here from Oklahoma. They're like, oh, really? When? And I'm like, today. This morning, 6 hours ago. And I don't have a place to live yet.
I was going to say.
And they're like, we will find you a place. Like, they totally took me in. They I have such good friends I met through the junior league. Like, so many of my friends in Boston I met through that. And they were great, right? They like really helped me get on my feet there.
Is it women of all ages?
It is. So any ages, I'm welcome to join. And it's been
join.
great. I would encourage anyone to join. It's just been such a good organization for me and like so empowering, and I love it.
So it's like helping each other and also helping the community.
Yeah. And so I found that like my place in this organization is very social. So I usually, when you join, you get a small group of new members that are similar age. And so I like lead a small group of new members. And that's like, you get a placement. So you get somewhere that you serve, which could be internal, which is what I do, a new member leader, or external, which is like, Little Back Dress or Kids in the Kitchen or the STEM Initiative, something like that. And I like the internal placements that are like extremely social, and getting to know people. So, but I really like it. It's such a good organization.
Is this something that you put on your resume?
I put it on my resume.
Yeah.
So
I like it.
and you never, it's one of those things you never know when someone's like, oh, I did that, or I'm still involved in that. So,
I think that's spectacular.
I like it a lot.
I never even knew it existed. Why do you call? Any idea why they call it the junior league?
Okay, I'm embarrassed that I can't fully answer this question because they do kind of like make you learn the history of junior league, and I'm like, yes, I learned it. Please pour me another glass of wine. But yeah, it's like it started in New York, and it was like women. It was like a women's sewing group. So they would like sew, like, I don't know, quilts for soldiers or something. And then it has like evolved into this service organization now. And I don't know why they call it the junior league. I don't know where that name came from.
I don't know. Maybe we have to look it up later. Find out.
I'll put the link on the website. I'm intrigued. What other extracurricular things are you involved in?
What else do I do? So I'm involved in like so many networking organizations. I love networking organizations, guys.
Yes.
I'm involved in this organization called Commercial Real Estate Women, and my boss kind of got me into this, and I love it. And this summer I was on the golf league, which I grew up golfing with my dad, but I'm not a great golfer. And so this summer I was like, I'm gonna do it. It'll be fine, even though I know I'm like, I hope I don't embarrass myself. And it turned out to be like all women who were kind of also learning, and so we learned together. And the first time we played together, I kid you not, I lost a ball on every hole. Like, it was really wooded, this course we were playing on. And so if you don't hit it perfectly straight, you're in the woods. And I was like not wanting to spend too much time searching for a ball. So I would just be like, oh, it was somewhere around here, guys. Like, I found it. And so I like went home the next day, and I had to order I ordered 200 golf balls because I was like, I'm gonna have some trouble this summer. But then everyone said, like, we know you lost a bunch of balls. So it's like, jigs up. Everyone knows I'm terrible. And then the last game, I didn't lose a single one.
Nice.
So I was like, I did it. I'm the best golfer ever. Don't worry about my score, but I didn't lose a ball.
So typical networking. Let's go to the golf course. Yeah. That's so funny. And that's Crew Network, is that right?
Yeah, that's called Crew.
Cool.
And I'm involved in the BSA in Boston.
The BSA.
Boston
Tell us
Society
about
of
that.
So I think in most cities it's called the AIA, which is the American Institute of Architects. Boston, because I'm sure, as you know, it's like we have to do our own thing. They call it the Boston Society of Architects, and so I'm involved in that. I'm on. They have a great women's group that I got involved in, and then since then I've been involved in a initiative where we did a survey. It was like about workplace policy, which was really fantastic. It started because a woman asked her boss, like, what is our parental leave policy? And he was like, I don't know. We should ask the BSA what they say about that. And the BSA was like, I don't know. We should figure that out. So they were like, let's do a survey. And so when I moved to Boston, I just like showed up at this planning meeting. I was like, give me a job. And they said, well, we could really use some help with the survey. And so we did the survey all about policies and like workplace satisfaction and how your policies affect that. It was like 200 questions, but we got a great response. And then we turned that into graphics and presented it at the architectural conference. And now we're kind of talking about other things we can do with it. But so that's what I do with them. And that's really interesting to figure out, you think it's going to be money. Like that's what people want is more money. It's not. Like people don't care. They love their job and they want like flexibility and to like see their kids at night. And so it's been really cool doing that project.
Have you been over to the Christian Science Church yet?
I
Talk about
have.
architecture. Isn't
Okay,
that
so
something?
here's a funny story. The BSA has a gingerbread contest every year. And it's like a themed gingerbread contest and you like, go online and donate to your favorite gingerbread house. And 2 years ago, we did the Christian Science Center and gingerbread.
Oh, that's awesome.
We did.
How did you get the domes to stay?
Rice Krispie treats.
Oh.
I mean, industry secret.
Oh, Lisa, this church is stunning.
That's awesome.
And it has the reflecting pool there too. We'll have to go visit sometime. It's so beautiful
It is
there.
really
That's so
pretty.
funny. Oh, I wish. Do you have pictures of it?
Of the gingerbread?
Oh, would you send it, Mom? Yes.
That's
Yeah, we have
awesome.
we have
Oh my
a lot of
gosh, I'd
pictures.
love to see. I loved spending time over there. It was
Also, I
just
think
so
I should
fun.
also plug that my firm is working on the renovation right now.
Really?
So, yeah.
Oh,
But
that's
I'm
cool.
not personally.
Are you
but
are you able to share what you're renovating?
just like so it's a historic renovation, and so it's just kind of upgrades. But still cool to kind of see the bones of
Yeah,
it.
I'll put a link so people could take a look. It's just something else.
Well, I
is-
thought that
it's
was
really
wonderful for you
beautiful.
too when you're traveling to see all the buildings
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, it's
Beautiful, beautiful and old. I was just talking to a friend and she is from England and how she wants to go back for the summer because they live here now. She's like, I just need to touch something that is old. I need to touch something that's 1,000 years old. I need to put my hands on something that's old.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, I guess we don't think about that.
Yeah, we don't have stuff that's
I know. That's what I miss. I miss being back at my original home because of that. But I go back once a year
Yeah.
for the beach. I love the beaches there. Everybody say, "Oh, it's too cold." But you and your family, you guys used to go to a beach.
Oh yeah,
same
so
beach
we
every
had
year?
before I studied abroad, we were like beach people. Let's go to Galveston. Let's go to Florida. Like
Galveston.
vacation is
I've
like
been
a
there.
Florida or Texas beach. That's like our idea of a vacation.
That's how it was in
Uh-huh.
Texas. It was
Yeah.
Florida or Mexico. Or the coast.
Yeah, and we did. We went to Mexico. We went on a cruise one time, but then I studied abroad, and I was like, I want to go to like big cities, and I want to go to Europe. And so now we've all been to. I mean, I guess a couple summers ago, the whole family spent a month in Europe, and it was amazing. It was kind of like the Griswold Sea Europe, but it was still amazing. And we had a really good time, and we always. I mean, I want to go see all of the buildings, right? Like that's my thing. I want to see the buildings. And they're kind of like, okay, let's negotiate this. Like we will do so many buildings, but then you have to come do our things.
Right.
So we
Isn't that
just
funny?
can't handle so many buildings. So it is
I know you can
really-
just go in and you just hang out there and just take it all. I know what I know what that's like growing up in in Boston with everything being old and just appreciating the architecture and just antiques and just the art in general. I guess so that's really cool. Just you can just soak that up, and that's just something. Do you find peace?
Yeah, absolutely. Like,
There.
just hanging out and like being quiet.
Yeah,
Yeah. And like noticing little details.
yeah. Because only you notice them.
Yeah, I do. I do feel like sometimes I notice things that I'm like, nobody else notices
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Well, and I'm sure your mind can be like, I know how they did that, or how did they do that, or you're thinking about like the process of it, not
Yeah.
just appreciating that it's there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I do. I always think about the process and I always take pictures of the weird. Like if you look on my phone, you're like, what are we looking at?
It's a corner.
It's like, oh, this is like a really interesting screw that I saw. Like, look at the shape. Isn't that interesting? And no, it's not. Like, leave me alone. But yeah, I do notice little things like that. And I will try to, I really think about that because I would say I'm like a very big picture person. And so I'm, I like to work with people who are really detail oriented and little things like that I notice, but it's hard for me to think about them. I'm like, oh, big picture stuff, but they're so important. Like in a building, those things make all the difference. So
in college, was there a course of just the history of?
yeah, history of architecture.
Where did it all start?
Architecture.
Where do you start in that course?
I mean, like with the cavemen. I mean, you
Cavemen,
think
right?
that
Yeah.
you think
What were they building back then?
little caves.
Yeah.
How did they decorate their caves?
Right?
But yeah, like I mean, you start with like kind of the structures, right? Like Stonehenge is a big thing you talk about.
Yeah.
And so, and like I wouldn't say you spend a lot of time on that, but yeah, you definitely talk
Get a
about
brief,
that and like the master builder and how architecture has evolved from like this master builder to where it is now, where it's not quite. It's like the master builder. Some people think is like dying, but then I have especially older architects. When you talk to them, you're like, no, it's here. You just have to like spend the time and really like hear what they have to say.
Is there like an Elon Musk of architects?
Oh, I don't know. That's like a really good question. An Elon Musk of architects.
Is there like some futuristic floating
would
buildings
be
that are gonna
Frank Gehry, I feel like he's
Frank
like
Gehry?
yeah, his stuff is like very futuristic.
What is
Do you like
something
that?
that he's
I do.
designed?
I mean,
Do you like more
I
traditional?
really
or-
appreciate that. Also Zaha Hadid, she loves Zaha Hadid. And she has some of her stuff is like so futuristic. And I used to, when I was in school, I was unsure about it because I was like, I wonder what the inside's like. And I'm really into that. I'm like, if it doesn't function well, if like you're getting lost, then what's the point? Or if it's leaking.
Oh my gosh!
But
yeah, what the
her
heck is
stuff-
she building?
But her stuff, it's also it makes so much sense. Like it works really well. So I went to a museum she did. It was the first building of hers I've ever been in.
Whoa!
It was the Maxi in Rome. And I was like, this is so great. It's like a museum where you just walk a path. So many museums, you like go into this room, then backtrack and go into this room. And it's not like that. It's like, I'm on the
simple.
path. The path has ended. I have my journey here has ended. This makes sense.
Yeah,
And
it's
it
simple but
was-
like majestic.
it
These
is
buildings,
amazing,
holy
yeah.
macaroni!
Well, now they have all these shows on Netflix, and I mean, I get sucked into. I don't even think you have to have that brain to be interested in all that kind of stuff now. You know, there's so many things that are
I can't
interesting.
get over these images. I can't get over it. Some look like beehives and like
Oh,
shoes,
yes, those
giant
are
shoes.
cool.
Yeah.
and-
So I think it is down. You can kind of see the tip of it over here. There's a project in Scotland. And when we went to Scotland with my mom and my aunt, I like insisted it was under construction, but I insisted we go see it because I was like, I need to see it while it's under construction. Like, I want to see the structure. And they were like, okay. So we drove all over Scotland looking for this like half complete building. And we find it. They're in the car. They're like, we're cold. And I'm walking around the fence and some guy's like, you can't be here. And I said, oh, I'm sorry. I'm an architecture student. And he was like, okay, fine. You can be here.
Cool.
Let me show you this. And he like showed
that's
me some of the
cool.
stuff. And I was like, this is so cool. And I still have those pictures of like
Whoa!
her buildings under construction, which
Yeah.
is so cool.
Wow,
That is awesome.
Like out of this world. And I love that you said, like you were talking about earlier, like you want every square of the inch of this world to be walked on by you. And like, who would have known that that's there in Scotland? That's like wild. And who else knows what other architectural, things are out there unless you get out there and explore. I was talking about being in my Boulder bubble, and now I'm like, oh, I don't want to be in my Boulder bubble anymore.
Yeah,
I want to go
get out.
explore because I thank you for reminding me, like, and maybe other listeners too. Like, I forgot how much I love and enjoy architecture, specifically back east.
Yeah, absolutely. But also, it's easy. It is sometimes nice to be in your bubble, especially when it's cold like this. I'm like, I'm like, oh, January, February, March. No, I'll be here on my couch.
Oh my gosh. Have you been there? Oh, well, you have been there during one of
Yes,
those
I
bomb
have.
cyclones.
I had that my very
What'd you
first
think
year
of that?
there, like my third month there. I was like, what is happening?
Right?
What have I done?
Crazy.
Mom, Dad, I made a big mistake. I need you to come get me. Yeah, that was a shock. It really was.
I know.
So,
I love. Nobody goes out in Boston, so it's like safe. You don't have a car.
I don't have a car,
You're
so-
smart and you're all on foot. But I remember I used to go out. I lived in Roslindale at one point,
Okay,
and I went to school in Brookline. But I would go out and meet my mother at Mass General because she worked there, and then I had an uncle at Brigham and Women's. And I would drive, it would be snowing, something crazy, but I'd drive around and it would be silent. It would be dead,
nobody
And
goes
there would be
out.
people walking, of course.
Yeah.
But it's just, there's something else. It's different.
Yeah,
it's
I
totally
mean,
different weather there.
I don't even
Yeah.
walk. I'm like, it is cold. I'm going to do the bare minimum to just get from like my office to my house. Like that is all I can handle right now.
At least here in Colorado, you know what? Today I was complaining because the roads right now are terrible because we had just an insane amount of snow right now that's all been smashed. I know you guys drove over here. It's all smashed in ice. But then you look at the mountains and you're like, oh my gosh, they're so beautiful and snow covered. And it's just like, I just want to go out there and walk around in them. And I'm like, I'm sure, it's not quite as bad. And
Yeah.
the sun comes out here, so it's not too bad.
Yeah,
I
you're
don't
lucky you can just hop on 93, go north or south.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
And I feel like in Colorado you have
Or
some
95.
relief.
Right, 'cause
what
the
really
sun comes
gets to
out,
me
yeah.
is like March when it's still cold and you're like, I just want one warm day. Just like one day where I can walk from point A to point B and not totally hate everything. And it's just like it really is like April and May
brutal.
until you're like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm back.
Yeah.
Back to being social.
Well, one thing before we start wrapping things up, I just wanted to say and talk about for a minute that I found so interesting and kind of eye-opening, because sometimes watching TV and things that you hear, and then what you're telling me your experience is so different. You're working in a business world in a big city, and what I hear from your story is you're working with women and you have mentors and you have support and you have help. Whereas sometimes I feel like that gets portrayed when you think the business world is cutthroat, and especially in competition and other women, and then it's all about competing with one another. And I don't get that from what you're saying at all.
Yeah, I mean, my life has been really shaped by like strong women. I mean, I have had a lot of men mentors too, like people who've really taken me under their wing. But I mean, so many women who have just been like when I'm kind of just not sure what the next step is, someone who just knows. Like, how do you know? But my entire life, I've had someone there, and also just like my friends and my friends in college that are architects and that aren't architects. That I was like in a sorority in college, and I thought that was amazing and so empowering. And I'm still friends with those girls, and we like do an ornament exchange every year, and they're like, all over the world.
Yeah.
And so I've had such a positive experience with women and with the women who have like just like been there for me and helped me like find the next step and get involved and meet other people and shape my career, and it's been so rewarding.
Well, and it sounds like you want to give that back now and pass that on.
100%, yeah. And I feel like my parents really raised me like, you can do anything, like you have no limitations, whatever you want to be, even if God forbid it was an artist. They were like, whatever you want to be. And so it never really occurred to me that being a woman might limit me in any way. Mm-hmm. And then I got into like college and the professional world, and there were people who were like, well, I'm a girl. So, and I thought like, that's so sad. That is so sad
right.
that you feel that way. And I just really hope there's, a point where women don't feel like that. Like women are like, I can do whatever, I hope every woman feels the way that I felt growing up, which was like, there are no limitations. Because that is so rewarding.
Well, and I love that. And I love, it's again, the common thread of what we hear here is that if we just kind of put ourselves out there and ask for the help, it's there, mm-hmm. And if we can just be vulnerable and ask for it, especially asking another woman. I mean, women help women. That's what we're learning all the time. In everybody's story, I don't think we've heard anybody who got to where they are without some help. And not just from men, not just from their family, but especially from other women. And I think that's so important and inspiring. And I appreciate you just like sharing what your story with us, and appreciate you being out there in that world and creating functional spaces for us and giving back to other women and helping them. Yeah, I think it's awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you guys for having me.
It was really nice.
I want to visit you when I come back east
Yes.
now. I'm like, this is going to be my new friend. I'm networking today. North End cannolis.
Oh
they
gosh,
are the best,
love
girl.
them. God. It's dangerous. It really is so dangerous.
Oh, so good. All right. Well, thank you so much again.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on with us. If you have an interesting story, something funny, something sad, something you want the world to know, please email us. We want you to share your experiences with us. We'll take these, we'll collect them, we'll do some episodes sometimes where we'll read them. So if you want to be anonymous, please just let us know. We won't read your name. If you want your name read, then we will. But send us those stories, comments, to info@herturntotalkpodcast.com. And we also ask, if you like what you're hearing, please rate, review, and subscribe. Thank you.